Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined on this Monday by Lincoln Shrike. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and on our website, FloTrack.org/FloTrack podcast. Lincoln, we have entered London Marathon Week. How are you?
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's definitely I was excited about the MLB playoffs, and my Bears picked up another win. But in the running world, we do need to be excited about the London Marathon because it almost rivals those events for me. That's how exciting this Bekele and Kipchoge matchup versus Jared Ward, of course, too. Can't forget him. Wow, that was a lot of disrespect. I should take that back. But yeah, it's
Jared's
exciting.
A good sport. He'd appreciate it.
I know he's said, I think on another show, he's trying not to get lapped, would be the race. He said like the race of his life. So, long-winded way for me to say. Oh, he did.
You don't listen to our show. He was on our show, and he said that on our show. I mean, this is just not a good way to start the week here, Lincoln. With you,
I'm just saying,
the Jared Ward interview. Listen to the Jared Ward interview. Don't even listen to me and Gordon. Just listen because of Jared Ward's on there. How do we expect other people to listen if you don't even listen to our own podcast?
Listen, when the first few months I was an everyday guy, and then there's just been a lot. I don't know if you've heard. There's an election coming up. I have expenses that I have to deal with. $750 here, $750 there. It's just I have a lot going on in my life. So
okay,
sometimes I don't get to it.
You're excused. But I did like how you referenced him saying it on another podcast. When that other podcast was our podcast.
I thought it was.
I mean, maybe multiple podcasts, but I know for sure. We had a whole section about getting lapped because I gave him advice as someone who's been lapped numerous times in their life, and he has not, so he doesn't know what it's like. So I was trying to share my wisdom, but other people who listen to the podcast know.
Yeah, and getting lapped by Kipchoge, I imagine that's pretty close to a religious experience. Like it's just like that's like a blessing. It's like, oh, okay. Bekele maybe not quite as much, but similarly awe-inspiring. But getting passed by Kipchoge, I imagine it's close to a spiritual revelation. You're like, oh wow, an angel just passed me. I feel smarter and healthier.
Well, it's a good way to know that he actually exists because in most times he just goes and you never see him again. And at least if he laps you, you know he's real and he doesn't run out of sight.
Have you ever seen Eliud Kipchoge in real life?
Yes, I was at that Chicago Marathon that he won. Mm-hmm. So I was in the same room. He is real, but that was at the beginning of his reign. So I didn't realize when he was in there what he would become. I don't think anybody did. So now there's plenty of reasons to doubt whether or not he is real. Mm-hmm. And I think if you got lapped, though, you'd at least see him go by you and you'd be like, okay, yep, he's there. He's just really, really fast. And you get to feel how fast he is, at least for a second.
Yeah. A lot of questions he's going to have to answer. Can he win a marathon anymore that's not sponsored by an oil conglomerate? Like, I don't know if that's been answered. It's the big question hanging over London.
They did release the schedule of race morning. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
And tell me how you're going to plan this accordingly. So the women's race is going to be, I'll do this central time for you. Women's race is going to be 1:15 a.m. Central Time.
Oh no.
So 7:15 a.m. in London. The men's race is 3 hours after that. So that'll be a 4:15 start time. So they'll be done by 6:15. And then the wheelchair race will go off 3 hours after that. So that is, and if we're on the East Coast, it'd be a little bit later, but I'd almost prefer the West Coast setup of.
Yeah, for sure.
4 a.m. is a tough time to start.
That's brutal
for the men, but for the women, that's 1:15. That's how are we gonna do this? Are you covering this?
Am I covering this?
Yeah, we should figure that out. You want to do that right now?
Whoever is not covering this gets the other person's kids. So that's how we're gonna do it.
For a day or a week?
Yeah, maybe a month. You think you
Okay.
win. You're like, well, wow, I get to sleep. But it's like, no, too bad. Here's a baby and a 5-year-old. So, no, I don't know. That's going to be tough. Obviously, the focus is on the men's race. That's going to be, but the women's race isn't too shabby either. So that's a little bit brutal. I didn't realize they were starting that early. Obviously, it makes sense for them to space them out with social distancing and whatnot. But I didn't realize it was going to be that tough. That's going to be a challenge to cover. I haven't covered much recently, so jumping right back into the deep end.
Yeah, that's the whole stay up or go to sleep issue.
Dilemma.
If it was just the men's race, if it was just the men's
definitely
race,
go to
you would
sleep.
just but I don't know what to do now. With both of these, this is going to be tough. I'm wondering, did they need a whole hour in between those two races? I mean, I know some of the women, are going to run 2:30, I guess, because someone will have a bad day out there, so they'll need to clear the course. But and I guess since it is a loop course, it's not like you can just start them. Like you can't start Kipchoge and be like, all right, go, and then not expect him to pass a bunch of people.
Yep.
But
right.
That is it. Yeah, that's an early day
It
for
is.
us. We'll have to figure that out. Now that you know it's a 10:15 start, go ahead.
Oh, what fans love to hear is complaints about people. Oh, this is gonna be hard to cover from my bedroom at 4:00 in the morning. They love that. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how many fans. I mean, not that we're going to know this, but how many people are going to either stay up or get up for this. I assume most people that want to watch will either try to not see the results before they watch it in the morning, or at least just get up for the men's race. Because on the East Coast, that's not terrible. Like a 5 a.m.er. I mean, that's not awful. But it is going to be a little early.
Well, you could stagger it so you see the end of the women's race,
sure.
and then you're in a good spot. In years past, I've skipped the London Marathon, or I've tried to watch it later just because of the start time. But I don't think I can do it this year. I think this year is different.
Not.
Even though last year and years every year, it's the biggest race of all time. It's the best race of all time, and there's always amazing storylines going into these London marathons. But this is different. This is a whole order of magnitude bigger. So I need to watch this, and I think the women's world record is under threat too. So I don't know if I want to sleep through that either.
The women's world record?
Because the women's world record holder's in the race. I don't know if you knew that. We talked about that on the podcast as well too.
Is that right? How's she doing these days?
Hugh Brasher, the London Marathon race director, on Ryan and Alex's pod, said the course is faster than the regular London Marathon. Not as fast as Vienna for Kipchoge's sub-2 race, but faster than the regular London Marathon. I think she's at least got a chance. And then you have Cherry in there as well. You got a lot of big names. It's gonna be hard, but I think there's at least an opportunity for her to do it.
You don't think a 2:14:04 is just like a one-time like aberration, like that was your one-time hitting a grand slam left-handed blindfolded type of a performance that never happens again?
I just don't. It could be, but that stuff's a bit rare in running. It's not like there's an act. She's like, oh, I'm accidentally running 2:14 pace. Oh, I'm going to keep accidentally clicking off these splits. I just think Chicago isn't as fast as a course. On the right day and conditions, things can be quicker, but I think London is a faster course than Chicago. So there's at least some time there that she could get back.
And one thing I haven't looked up, weather. I assume you're caught up on that. Where are we at with weather? What's it looking like?
Weather is going to be good. Last I checked. Let me give you you want the. I guess we need a 5-day now. Let's look this up. But it's going to be Sunday, high of 58, low of 48, cloudy, chance of rain. That seems ideal to me. Now, if it rains,
does seem pretty good.
Not as good. But if we're looking at a high of 58, maybe you'd want it a little cooler. But at 7 a.m, their time, I think that would mean that we're going to have a starting time basically in the very low 50s. So I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah. When you look at other sports and you see underdogs, a lot of times if it's like an outdoor sport like football, I guess, or baseball, I'm just going to name outdoor sports.
Keep going. What other
You
ones
look
play
at
outside?
a possible upset. A contributing factor to an upset is bad weather. It's like, oh, that introduces chaos and whatnot. I mean, it may be a moot point because it's not going to happen. But would it help or hurt Bekele if the conditions were tougher?
I think it would hurt him, just
Yeah.
based on how he's done previously
Yeah.
in the rain. I mean, remember that was the 1 year he dropped out of Berlin, complaining of cold temperatures. I think the more predictable the conditions, the better for him, because you're also going against the ultimate role with the punches guy in Eliud Kipchoge, who, lest we forget, ran 2:04 with the insoles coming out of his shoe.
That's true. Yeah, that was on purpose. I think that was a marketing thing.
But ask yourself how many people could run. Ask yourself how many pros would keep going when the insole came out of their shoe, and then ask yourself a follow-up question: how many of them could run 2:04?
Yeah, I can't check the mail at my house without my flip-flops on, so I can't run a marathon 2:04 with my insoles coming out. So yeah, you're right. I think Kipchoge is better positioned if his fastball's not working that day. He can adapt. He's got several other things he can go to. Where Bekele may need a perfect day. He's going to need a lot of help. I mean, it's the more we get closer to this, it's like it will be.
You realize how good Kipchoge is.
Yeah, it's just like, I think back. I look at like his Tils de Paja page. It's just that 159. It stands out. It's just like, man, that guy ran 159. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that he ran 159, but I didn't. And you have to wonder if Bekele knows he ran 159. I'm just kidding.
I like starting sentences with "a lot of people forget" because usually whatever comes next is not true, and no one has forgotten it. But we'll do the full preview of London later on in the week. We'll do the men on Thursday and then the women on Friday. We'll also be able to post the press conference later on this week. I just think the women's race is quite top heavy though. With Kosgei, Chepngetich, and Cheruiyot, you have three people who, could run. Obviously, Kosgei's already run 2:14, but in the teens, and then nobody else has a PR faster than 2:19. So I think a lot of it will come down to pacing. I mean, they have 7 pacers listed. I'm sure they're all going with various groups. I mean, that's the one part of this, right? When Kosgei was in Chicago, correct me if I'm wrong, she had male pacers that took her a good portion of the way. And that is not going to be the case for this race. Not sure. I guess because it's not a male, it's a female only race. So you couldn't do that. So are you doing okay, by the way? I hear a lot of coughing. It's making me a bit nervous.
Yeah, obviously with COVID going around, there's always concerns, but I'm feeling better. Yeah, there's always these concerns, but we haven't really done anything in my house, so I don't know where we picked this up. But my family is doing much better. I have just finally the last leg. I'm the last Mohican. I don't know what you call this. Sorry, that's probably not the correct way to say this. I'm the last person to get this sickness. My son had it, then my wife, the baby, which is always fun, getting out the snot sucker in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah.
Hack snot out of the baby's nose, and now I've got it. So everybody's doing better, but me. So no fever either. Not going around and hanging around with other people, but I feel pretty confident that it was just some cold that I have no idea where we picked it up. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
Okay, good. The snot sucker is always fun. That's a parenting merit badge whenever you get to use that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Nose Frida. Shout out. If you want to sponsor this pod.
Dude, I would chill for some free Nose Frida. Let me just say. We used it last week. It's just surprisingly effective. Okay, let's talk about Doha Diamond League. It was last Friday. It feels like so long ago, but if you know anything about my co-host, Lincoln Strike, he has a soft spot in his heart for Doha. So any opportunity he has to talk about it, we are going to take. Lincoln, what did you think was the main story coming out of the final Diamond League of the year?
I thought it was Faith Kipyegon. 157 is spectacular, and she's had a really, really strong year. And I know that if Savannah-san runs the 1500, she's going to be the odds-on favorite for Tokyo. But I think Kipyegon has gained back more ground on Hassan than, the gap is I think smaller than it was in Doha, when obviously she beat her by like 3 seconds or 2.5 seconds or whatever. So Kipyegon, another year, past pregnancy, she was obviously fantastic last year in 2019 to get silver, but she is, if you had favorites for the 1500, it's Hassan 1A, and then I think it's Kipyegon 1B. I mean, 157 is spectacular. You look at her and Laura Muir, these 1500 runners, and they're like, gosh, would they just be better off suited just using the 800 just because the competition isn't quite as high? I know they're not going to do that, but that was another fantastic performance from her, and she's had a very sneaky, like very, very strong 2020 season.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And she might end up actually being the women's athlete of the year, just because it's been such a weird year on the women's side of things. 157, though, in a race where second place was 159.2, is just mighty impressive. And the women's 1500 hasn't had everybody show up this year. You mentioned Muir. She's been running, but obviously Savannah-san hasn't run a 1500. Shelby Houlihan, JD Simpson haven't been there. So it doesn't have its normal depth, but be it in the 8 or the 1,000 that Kipyegon's been doing a bunch of times this year too. She seems like she's trying to specifically work on the shorter stuff this year to get a little bit quicker. And I mean, if she does that, that's the final piece. Not that was really missing, because she's a gold medalist, but that just adds to it. And if you're like me and you're of the mind that Hassan is going to do the 5 and 10 next year, then this is just put Kipyegon into a stronger position as favorite in the 1500.
Yeah, I'm hoping, just for the sake of competition, that I agree with you, but I'm hoping for the sake of competition that Hassan somehow finds a way to do the 1500. I know the 15 and 5 double isn't a possibility, really. But yeah, Kipyegon, I think, maybe looked at last year and said, I just got blitzed completely, nuked by speed. Savannah-san, I just, if 354 is not good enough, I got to get faster, right? Because, and so that's what she did. It seems like you got to be in close to world record shape to win a gold medal, especially if Hassan does in fact compete. And she's done everything in her power this year to improve on that, or get herself in that position to if she needs to run 351 in a final next year, I think there's a good chance she can do it. So yeah, it's just another really, really strong performance from her, lest you forget, of course, that she was just completely dominant in 2016 and 2017. I know a while back, several months ago, we reviewed that 2017 women's London race, and she just dominated so thoroughly in that last lap.
Yeah.
Savannah-san in that race, but it wasn't Savannah-san like we know of 2019 and 2020. But that's the ability Kipyegon has at her full power to just really own this 1500 distance. And she's working on that speed, and she's going to be really, really dangerous.
Yeah. And lest we forget, a lot of people do forget this, Lincoln. Savannah-san's 156.8 PB in the 800. And because she's so good at the 10K and everything else, you can forget those years before she was dominant, and she was just so versatile. So if you're looking at, okay, she ran 351 and has a 156 800 PR. Yeah, let's drop the 800 PR. And Kipyegon had run 158 before, but now she goes into the 157s, does it in a race where she's completely dominant. Would you pick her for women's athlete of the year? It's weird to think, because she's only run 5 times, and 2 of them have been 1Ks.
Yeah. There hasn't been the other than her, it seems like there has not been that like a standout performer. Like there has been clearly like 3 on the men's side. There's been clear 3 or 4 guys that have just been spectacular. On the women's side, it's been a little bit less murky. Perhaps if Elaine Thompson had competed a little more, as my nose starts to drip, we'd be talking about her. But I think it is Kipyegon, just given the victories and the times for sure.
Yeah, I think you'd put Thompson in there. You'd put Muir in there. You know, she's run a
Probably
bunch.
O'Beary.
She had some lot. Yeah. But Muir 357. I mean, she ran a 357 twice and a 358, and then ran a 158 indoors. It's pretty good. O'Beary needs to be considered, but the men, it's just like an all-time. You're gonna have a person like Krauser's probably gonna be fourth if they were voting, or Warholm is gonna be fourth because you're gonna have to put Mondo and Cheptegei up there somewhere. But you have 4 guys who, in many other years, would have won it, and they are not going to sniff it this year just because how tough 2020 has been on the men's side of things. Very strange year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it'll come down to what Cheptegei does in the 10,000. I think if he breaks the world record, he wins, and anything short of that, it's got to go to Duplantis. And I mean, you could even make the argument, you know, even if Cheptegei breaks it, that it should go to Duplantis, which is just absurd. But yeah, much tougher for the year that Krauser and Warholm had. They're not going to win Athlete of the Year, which is just nuts. We don't have to repeat it, but in a year with a pandemic, when a lot of people aren't even competing, those guys had arguably the best seasons of their career, and it's like, nope, that's not good enough for a track and field athletics Athlete of the Year. So wild and crazy. We were lucky on the men's side to get the year we had.
Yeah, just some real standouts at the top. It's weird to think about when you take a step back. You brought up O'Beary. She won this 3K in Doha, 8:22.5. Beatrice Chepkoech, the steeple recorder, was third to Agnes Tirop. And then farther down there, you had Jessica Hull of Australia, formerly of the University of Oregon, currently of Pete's Dragons, run 8:36 for an Aussie record. Not a Oceania continent record, because I'm just seeing the NR here. I don't see an area record. So I'll have to wait another day for the Oceania record. But that's a lot of records now for Jessica Hull. What'd you take away from this women's 3,000? Just that O'Beary's rock solid unless she's going against Hassan? Because that's kind of what I think in all these women's races from 15 to 10K. It's great, but you got to do it against Sifan Hassan.
Yeah, exactly. Helen O'Beary racks up a lot of victories. She's pretty good. I don't know if you've seen her before, but she's good. And I read the post-race recap by World Athletics, and she said it feels like Doha is a second home for her.
Same with you.
That said, if Sifan Hassan is in town, then it's this town ain't big enough for the both of us, even though Doha is a big enough town. Yes, she in races that don't have Sifan Hassan, she is just an utter force. And 8:22 is a pretty good time. I tend to be a guy who am not going to look too much into a 3K time because it's not a real distance. But she is, I mean, we know it. She's the favorite in the 5,000 unless Hassan's there. And if Hassan somehow doesn't run the 10,000, you know, she's not the favorite, but she's got a real good shot at gold. O'Beary's, it's interesting. You feel like it's like a, how can I put this in a baseball reference that me and 4 other people who listen to this will understand. You know,
like
she's like, Hassan is like Mike Trout, and O'Beary is like, I don't know, who's another great player. Cody Bellinger, you know. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good point. Overshadowed a little bit because there's so much more pomp and circumstance with Hassan and her abilities. O'Beary's though rock solid, and we're gonna look back, I think, and we're gonna be like, man, she was really good throughout her career. She won World XC. She won multiple titles on the track, ran a bunch of fast times. And then we're gonna be like, but remember when Sifan Hassan won the 1500 and the 10K? I don't think we. Basically, what I'm saying is this is a Helen O'Beary appreciation soliloquy here because she's really, really good. And let's not forget, just because there's Safan Hassan in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another result that stood out to me again is just this, what Elaine Thompson Hurrah now is her name. She got married. Congrats to her. A 1087 is just blowing everybody away. Women's 100 hasn't been a stacked event this year. Obviously, Dina Asher-Smith isn't there. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce hasn't run most of the season, but she went 1085 and then 1087 back to back to, I'm assuming, finish out her season. That's really, 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 really top times for where we're at this year. And that surprised me a bit because I thought with her injury issues, she would just take the year off, glide through to the Olympic year next year and try to ramp it back up again. So if this is any indication of what she's going to be like in 2021, I think that race for gold is going to be really tight between the two Jamaicans.
Ooh, that's tough. I still like Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. I think she got a tremendous psychological boost. Not that she needed it based on her career, but by just how dominant she was. That said, Thompson wasn't fully healthy. And now it appears she is. For her sake, you hope she can maintain that all the way. It's curious to me, and I'm glad she did, that she showed up these few meets, right? Because like she didn't really run a ton in the early part of the season, and then shows up and she's in like, nearly championship form. It's pretty incredible, and she's running against no competition for someone of her level and still running very, very good times that make you think she could probably run in the 10.7s right now if her main competition was there. So yeah, hugely impressive. We know the book on her though is, can she stay healthy? And then will she be able to, compete with her countrywoman, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, when it comes to it? Eventually, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, you would think age will catch up to her, just like it does most sprinters. But it certainly was. There was no signs of that last. Yeah, there was no signs of that last year. So I think she's gonna. That's one. Obviously, those are 1 and 2 favorites in the 100, just based on the Americans being a little bit down right now. And I think Elaine Thompson's got a little bit higher ceiling when it comes to the 100 than Dina Asher-Smith. So I would expect and be stunned if one of those two women is not the gold medalist when we leave Tokyo.
On the men's side of things, Mondo doesn't clear 6 meters.
Yeah, it's like what?
Surprised?
I wanted a refund from. Yeah, I just wanted a refund for my company paid NBC Gold subscription. Like that was just absurd. No, I'm just kidding. Still won. I imagine when he got the victory, he's like looked back on his season in his brain and was like, wait a second, I got the outdoor mark. I broke the indoor world record twice, and it could just be the off season right now. Yeah, I think I'm good. I'll just, 582. I mean, this is just how crazy it is with him. It's like 582 is just like, wait, what happened? What did he get hurt or something? I mean, that's where he's put the pole vault right now is 582. Yes, it's still going to be good enough to win a lot of competitions, but for him, 582 is like, it's almost like cause for concern. I know it wasn't that. It was the last competition, and he still won against Kendricks and LaVillenie, but what a year. What a year for Mondo Duplantis.
And we all can remember the Ultimate Garden Clash because that's where it became personal to him. And just went out of town.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. He had a sit-down interview in his giant sprawling mansion. And he said, LaVillenie, I like the guy, but I'm not co-champions. This isn't 2014 NCAA Outdoors. He didn't say that because no one remembers that. But that's when it became personal to me. And then he put a cigar in his mouth and said, I'm going to go break a lot of records. No, I'm just kidding.
I know it actually happened after indoor season, so that doesn't make sense. I guess you could say last year in Doha is when it became personal to him.
Yeah, that became personal.
Did you, when you were watching Doha, what were you thinking about? What memories were coming back in your mind of last year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, one, they weren't in Khalifa Stadium, so that was a little disappointing. And where is the stadium that they competed in? Were we near it? I don't remember seeing, or was that the outdoor track? The warm-up track?
That was the warm-up track, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I was thinking of all the different types of hummus I had. In fact, this week or last couple of days, I've been, because it's been, obviously a year ago. We were in Doha at this time. I was looking back on the different things, how much younger I looked, since, I've aged considerably in the last year, having another child and then a pandemic. It's done a number to me. But yeah, looking back, missing the Souk Waqif, missing an air-conditioned stadium, missing not feeling like your life is in danger when you're surrounded by hundreds of people. I mean, there's just so much things, so many good memories from Doha that feels a long time ago now.
Were there more people in attendance for this Doha Diamond League meet or the women's 100-meter final last year?
Yeah, it's close. It is close. I would imagine the bigger stadium, there was still more people for the women's 100-meter final, but
the men's 100
echoed
too.
in there.
Both hundreds.
Yeah, it echoed in there at Khalifa Stadium last year for those sprinting events. It was weird to see a stadium evacuate's not the right word, but to see people start leaving for the exits. It's like, wait, the 100 finals coming up. What are you doing? And it's like, well, the East African fans have seen their distance action, and Mutaz Essabarshim doesn't jump for a while, so everybody's going home.
Well, there was no one there to begin with on those early days.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah.
I mean, even if people did stay. You know what I realized was a missed opportunity, a missed content opportunity? The night of the 100 final, or any one of those first couple of days when no one was there. No, you should have gone to one side of the stadium. I should have gone on the other, and we should have recorded a podcast just yelling at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been made for good audio. About as good as audio of audio as when I record from my phone. But yeah, I think we could have done it. I think that definitely was achievable. But it's just a missed opportunity. We didn't miss much though when we were there. There's a lot of good questions on my part, a lot of good meals, a lot of good room service had. So I feel like we left Doha in a good spot.
Let's go back to the meet from Friday. Stuart McSwain of Australia, finally gets that Aussie record, 3:30.51, and did it the hard way, as they say. Lincoln
from the front.
This guy just got the Aussie 3K record, and he's going to run in that Cheptegei race where he's going to go for the 10K record. This guy's going to be a star, and I think if you don't know his name yet, you should know his name because he's somebody who can get on the podium in a bunch of different events. But that was it. That was an impressive run.
That's a bold statement.
You don't think he can get on the podium?
Yeah, he atones his. Yeah, no, I don't think that. No, I definitely do.
Ever?
There's a lot of good guys.
He's like, there are a lot of good guys. I mean,
there's just so many good guys. Here's my thing. His legacy in Doha previously was for wearing a comically baggy singlet last year. I don't know if you remember the Australian jerseys. I think
yes, I remember.
He put down an M, and somebody as a prank, I bet it was Morgan McDonald, scratched it out and put XL. And so his kit was just massive. I even took a picture. I probably still have it. So that was his previous legacy in Doha. Now, though, he's run 3:30, won a 1500. Granted, it was without Ingebrigtsen or Timothy Chariot, but nice mark for him. Takes down Ryan Gregson's Australian record. I think we were all waiting for that one. When was that going to fall? And it finally falls at the hands of old Stuart McSwain. No, I don't consider him no, I don't.
He just turned 25. Look at the range. Come on, man. He ran under 7:30.
Okay. Listen. One thing I want to fix in my media game for 2021 is to stop, other than Savannah Hassan, stop becoming so obsessed with range. I think that is a fool's errand because ultimately you have to pick one or two distances. You can't run the 1500 through the 10K and the steeple at a championships. You just can't. The 5,000, good luck. Good luck.
You don't think
can he run in the 1240s? Can he run in the 1240s? In the 10,000? Can he run?
You think they're going to run 1240? You think they're going to run 1240 in the Olympics next year? No, they're not going to run 1240.
Well, one guy, that's a tactical race for the guy up front. He's run 1235.
You think Centro can medal next year?
No, Centro's done, but that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
He had a good career.
Well, this would have worked better if you said yes, I think a medal, because then I would say, hey, this guy just ran 3:30. So I think he can.
Yeah, no.
No. If you want to put Chariot in his own tier, put Chariot in his own tier. Is Ingebrigtsen in his own tier in that second spot?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you have to put McSwain in the third tier, of which there are a bunch of different people, but that means he has a chance to medal.
No, excuse me. There is very clearly a third tier, and that belongs to wherever in the world Taufik McLufi is. That's the third tier.
I forgot about that, but I think McSwain can slide right in there. Range is important. Range indicates number one, options, which are good to have because you can pick different events, but it also indicates that you're just a damn good runner. Because Sifan Hassan for a while there, it's like, man, she's really good in the 800, but she gets fourth all the time. And then guess what happened? She went to Doha and won both. But when you run 156 in an 800 and 65 and a half marathon, you're a good runner. So I think what the media needs to do more in 2021 is focus more on range and less on this crazy stuff that you're talking about. More range articles.
More range. Yeah.
Shout out to David Epstein and his book Range, where you can get it at any fine bookstores nearest to you. No, I'm not saying he's a lock. I'm just saying when he runs.
No. Yeah. Sorry. Listen, go ahead.
5K. It's tough to know how that race goes. Obviously, if there was a rabbit in the Olympic 5K, you'd say, man, this is going to be a crazy race between Joshua Cheptegei, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Jacob Kiplimo, and Mohamed and Muchtar Idris, but it's not going to play out that way. And if you have 3:30 speed, you're going to be pretty dang good in the 5,000. And if you have 10,000 meter strength, you're going to be pretty good in the 5,000. So
I get that. No, of course. Yeah, he had a very good season, and he also, as you mentioned, ran a record or whatever, Oceania record in the 7:28, got a little overshadowed by Kiplimo and Ingebrigtsen, obviously, but very, very nice season. It's just tough for me when you look at who he's blocked by a lot of dudes, which doesn't take away from his ability. He's got a puncher's chance. I guess that's all you can ask for.
He's run 3:31 3 times now and a 3:30 once. So he's consistently in that range. Yeah, his best distance is probably the 3K, which, okay, that's a bummer to have your best distance be the 3K, but you could say the same thing about Ingebrigtsen. I mean, isn't he just like essentially like Ingebrigtsen with a little bit light. More? Well, and I want to say, depending on how he does in this, I mean, he already has the Aussie record in the 10,000, 27:23. So he might even have a little bit more range than Jakob. Obviously, his top end isn't as good. He hasn't run as fast in the 1,500, but this guy's legit. I think he's going to be right there next year.
Listen, if he runs under 27 minutes, then maybe we'll talk. But if we get to the 10,000, when you talk about when you talk about Cheptegei, Kajelka, Ronak Kiprutu, Kiplimo, I mean, where there's no shot for him in the 10. So it's got to come down to 5.
I'm not saying
maybe the 15. Yeah,
I'm just saying he ran 27:23 just to show you the range. I'm not saying his best chances in the 10,000. I'm just saying that's what differentiates him a little bit from Ingebrigtsen. But Ingebrigtsen's run 3:28, right? And Ingebrigtsen's run 7:27. But in that 3K race, you don't get extra points for this, but it does show that maybe in a tactical race you'll be in a good position. But he ran what's known as the hard yards in that 3K. Keeping that pace going. Have you ever run the hard yards, Lincoln? No, you don't, because you're going to not even talk about range next year in 2021.
No, I'm resigned to not talk about it. Made that decision
the
myself
easy yards.
Along with my consultants. He's a north and south back. He picks up. He's your guy. You go to Stuart McSwain on 4th and 1, right?
Yeah, I think I'm betting on the guy. I'm betting on a guy who is 3:30, 27:23, 7:28. Not a massive leap of faith there. But anyway.
Okay.
What else? So we had Ferguson Rotich win the 800, which probably should have ended when Donovan Brazier decided to not run anymore. Bryce Hoppel in that race.
Ferguson Rotich gets the Ferguson Rotich gets the non-Donovan Brazier 800-meter runner of the year award. That's pretty big for him. It took a big comeback after Bryce Hoppel ran 143 too, but Hoppel coming back to the States, licking his wounds a little bit, and Timothy Chariot too. Timothy Chariot, maybe stick with the 1500. That was not a good race for him.
Jeez.
Ferguson Rotich now slots in favorite for the silver. That's big.
Congrats, Ferguson. Yeah, what's going on with your guy Hoppel? His debut, he hits out of the park and then slows down from there. Is it time to panic for all the Bryce Hoppel stands out there?
Well, it was tough because he went home, of course. He went back to Lawrence and ran the Bob Timmons Classic. You know, he's used to having a couple cross-country races. No, I don't know.
He's underraced.
I'm curious. I don't know why he took a little break after he ran 143.2. You know, he didn't go to Stockholm and whatever. I don't know. You're allowed to lose a little bit. All in all, to come away with a PR this season, he had a pretty solid indoor year. He's going to be an Olympian, and he's going to be in the final. He'll be fine.
I think it was just weird to watch him drift back where we're normally used to seeing him move up. It was just a strange visual, just like it was a strange visual to see Timothy Chariot not out front. But I never looked at Timothy Chariot and thought, now that's a guy who's going to be really good in the 800. He just seems so perfect for the 15.
He's running 143. He's running 143 low, I think.
Yeah. But I'm just the way he runs just doesn't seem conducive to being in it. Yeah. I think he runs the 143 because he's just so damn good at the 1500 that you can't help but also be kind of good. But I just think he's tailor-made for that distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not much range.
Does Timothy Chariot have an 800 problem? Might call him.
Not if has he really run 143?
Yeah, like in Nairobi, which I know 800. It's like whatever altitude's not much, but yeah, he's run like 143 at like 7,000 feet. It's pretty incredible.
No, again, he's good. I don't see him as a guy as somebody who's gonna bounce it back in between those two things. Wow, yeah, 143.1 in 2019. What's his second best time? 144, 145. He hasn't run many of them.
Yeah.
It was a good meet. With some interesting storylines taken to the offseason. So we got obviously the Continental Tour in Kenya coming up, which will be interesting. Maybe we'll see Timothy Chariot again.
FloTrack.com.
Yes, exactly. And then also Yes, good job. And then obviously the World Record Day, which is going to be the week after London. So we'll focus on London from here on out. Stay focused on that. Where Stuart McSwain will prove Lincoln wrong once again. You've been wrong a lot this year, more so than your normal average. Keep going, though. I like it.
Right. I came into the year and I was like, big prediction, guys. No giant pandemic that wrecks the economy. And I was wrong. I mean, that was my bold prediction, and I was completely wrong on that. So, mea culpa for me there.
I did go back and listen to a lot of the early pandemic episodes. They didn't age very well. I will say that.
No. Probably like a lot of no, there's no chance the Olympics get canceled or postponed.
Man, World Indoors canceled, but I can't see it going beyond that.
Remember World Indoors? Yeah. That was funny to even think about. I can't even remember it. What city was that supposed to be in? Nanjing? Are they doing that still?
Nanjing.
It's coming up in like a couple months. It's like a couple months.
Pushed it to. They pushed it to 2021. Wild year. All right, we'll leave it there. Nan, you wanted to go last year. I mean, before the pandemic, but you were like, "Hey, so where do we put the credential in?" I said, "I don't think it's happening, man." And you're like, "Darn it."
Yeah.
I'm not. I do want to get out there though. See the world. See the United States at least. See parts of Texas. Anywhere. Literally, get me out of this room.
Outside this house. Yeah.
Staring longingly out the window. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is our email address. Tomorrow, Gordon and I will be on the pod. Wednesday, we'll have a guest. And then Thursday and Friday, we will have our exhaustive London Marathon preview. Lincoln and I are going to be studying up the next few days to bring you some good analysis of that race.
From Buckingham Palace. Sorry, I don't want to spoil it, but that's going to be big.
All right. Thanks, Alon, for producing. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.